Hi YouTube, welcome back. It's been a while, not because I haven't been doing stuff, there's been a lot going on. The reason this particular video has taken me so long to put together, and it's a mess by the way, I'll just warn you now, is because of these bastards, big end bearings. Originally I was just going to refit these bearings, reuse them. I have a couple of consultant mechanics and they're very different people. One of them is kind of just take it apart outside in the rain, dust and dirt and fag ash, chuck all the old stuff back in, it'll be fine. The other guys always use new parts, always measure everything, do everything very technically and clinically. I kind of sit in the middle, not because I don't want to do it like this, but I have to draw the line somewhere, and I'm not an engine rebuilder. This is a one-off project. I don't want £1 million worth of tools and fine tuning equipment in my garage. I do try and kind of keep it realistic. So reusing these bearings, if they were in good condition, would be fine. However, on doing a bit more research, I found out these spots here, for example, are embedded material. So that's kind of bad. Closer inspection would show quite a lot of scoring, and actually some of them you can just get your fingernail in and catch. And that kind of says it's time to change these, which if you can just go get new ones, frankly, isn't really a big deal. But as you'll see later in this video, trying to get anyone to confirm or deny correct part number fittings for these later 6-litre engines is a bit of a headache. There's a lot of information about the 5.3 litre V12. You literally you can take your pick of bearings. You can get oversized ones, aftermarket ones. The 6-litre ones, though, nobody really knows. I'm going to try and split this video up into sections and just kind of explain what's going on before each section, because there is a bit of overlap that will just make no sense otherwise. But the bottom line is, by the end of this video, we should have new bearings in, not these. They should be correct and we should be good. Cylinder deglazing time. In a previous episode, I removed my pistons, which turned out to be a bit of a mistake, because apparently if you take the pistons out, you've got to deglaze the cylinders, put the crosshatch back in, and put new rings on your pistons. I didn't know that. I thought you could just pop them in and out, but apparently not. So here we are. The pistons are already over here, all bagged up, all re-ringed, cleaned, ready to just position the piston rings in the correct position, which is called clocking the rings, which we'll get into maybe later this video if I get the pistons back in. To do deglazing, you need a deglazing tool. There seems to be a few different designs out there. I've gone for this type of drill attachment affair made by a company called Flex Hone. I am going to avoid using the word hone or honing throughout this process. This seems to be a bit of a contentious area of the internet. Honing really refers to the more aggressive material removal, usually by a machine shop, to put your cylinder bore, or liner in this case, back into spec. I don't know if you'd bother having cylinder liners honed. I don't know. I guess you just get new liners. But we're not honing. All we're doing is deglazing. And what that means, or as far as I can understand what that means, is making sure that by the time we've finished, this cylinder has a nice even crosshatch like this at about 45 degrees all the way around, ready for the new rings to go in. And then as they're going up and down in their first few runs, they should find a new home nice and tight up against the newly surfaced cylinder liner inner. That's what I've managed to gather. Okay, so if there's more to it than that, so be it. Feel free to put in the comments. Thank you to people who do add info to the comments for people who are watching, because I probably miss out quite a lot of info. I can't even talk, see? Important information sometimes. Just on that note, when I removed my pistons, or even before I removed my pistons, when I removed the heads and I was messing about rotating the engine, what I should have done is protected these cylinder liners from shifting. I didn't realise they are just slotted in with sealant in the sort of engine build process, and that bond can break, especially with the pistons pushing up and down on them with no head holding them down. They are actually very minutely proud of this surface here, so the idea is when the head's on, it's actually pressing down on them to act as even more of a seal between the top and where the bottom sits in the engine block. I didn't know any of this until afterwards. I often learn stuff after. And apparently they can lift out or become unseated. Obviously, that would be catastrophic because all your coolant is sloshing around in here. And if that goes through into where the crankshaft is, all hell's going to break loose. So what you're supposed to do is make sure at the earliest point, so as soon as you got your heads off, you clamp these down. There's various ways you can do that. Some people like to make some clamps that sit on here, and hold two at a time, or you can get a piece of metal like I have, exactly the right size, so that it's not going to stop the pistons going down when we reseat them, and just clamp them down just gently. They don't need to be torqued down or anything, but it just means I can now relax, and I know when I'm sticking the deglazing tool in or out, or messing about with the pistons, those cylinder liners aren't going to move. I've had this checked by mechanic friends, and they've told me, don't worry, you'd know if you'd unsettled them at this stage. If they were going to lift out, they would have lifted out, or they'd be loose, or you'd have some visual sign. So I'm just going to have to hope that I didn't cock something up by not having those on earlier. We will see, won't we? Obviously, if I do start the engine up and coolant's getting down in there, then we know that's all gone horribly wrong. But let's just not think about that. Moving back to this, the process looks fairly simple. What you want to do is put a glove on, because I'm going to stick some oil. That's an oily glove, I don't want that one. You can get special deglazing oil. I think Flexhone themselves supply it, or other manufacturers are available, but just some nice clean 5W30 that I've got spare. Really, come on now, will do the job. So I'm just going to oil up the inside of the cylinder liner liberally. Take that off now. I will reuse that, don't worry about the planet. I'm then going to make sure that the tool itself is covered in oil. I've got a spare jug here for flinging off the excess. It's probably a bit too much oil, but I'd rather have too much instead of too little. And then the basic process is you want a slow drill speed, so you don't want your massive power drill, a little handheld drill like this. I'll tell you the revs per minute that it recommends in a minute. I can't remember, and it's written on the box. We'll look into that in a sec, but that kind of speed seems about right. You need to have it spinning before it goes in and as it comes out. You don't want to stop at any point while it's in there. So you do also want to check that your drill battery is full, because you don't want it running out halfway through the process. And then it's just a simple case of getting it running, sticking it in and out, and they recommend slowly for some in and outs. I can't remember how many. Again, we'll look on the box and the instructions in a minute. And then to finish off, speed up, because that changes this crosshatch angle, which I'll show you now actually, because I don't care if I cock this one up anyway. So I'm going to just do this one now. So that's quite slow. That'll just be taking off any existing defects or anything like that. And if I pull that out, you can see, if I just zoom in the line of the oil, it's got quite a shallow crosshatch. If we want that steeper, then we just go quicker. So the slower you go, the more this way the crosshatch will be, and the faster you go, which I'll do now, the more angle you'll get, basically. So that was probably a bit too fast, but there you go. You can see that's increased the angle. And then it'll just be a simple case of taking a clean cloth, not this one, because this one's pretty dirty, but this is just a practice. I forgot to put a glove on again. And cleaning off the inside of the bore, because there might be material from this and you don't want any of that left in before you rebuild your engine. So get absolutely everything spotlessly clean. Obviously, when I do this on the real engine, I'll be using completely brand new cloths, make sure there's no chance of any crap, and also I'll be able to see what's come out. This is already dirty, but if I put a clean cloth down there, I can check as I pull it out that it's spotlessly clean. I'll probably just finish off as well with a bit of brand new kitchen towel, just so that I can see if it's bringing out any crap. One reason I'm a bit scared of it is I'm doing it with the crankshaft in. I'm not doing a full rebuild here, despite how ridiculous this whole project has escalated. But I definitely don't want to have to take the main front back seals out and crankshaft and all that bollocks. So my plan, as much as I ever have one, is to tip the engine on its stand so that it's pointing, so that the bores are pointing down, so that any material hopefully is going to run this way. I will then, before each, there we go. So if you look down, what's this, B1, if we started with that one, I would also rotate the crankshaft so that these big bits that stick up, they're like counterweights or balances. I don't know what the correct terminology for them is. But basically, I'm going to put the bearing surface as far away from me. So that's it up close. I'm going to rotate it so that it's that far away. And then go in and out. I mean, I don't know if I can show you on here, but the pistons, there, you can just see the line. The pistons don't go down right to the bottom of the bores anyway. So as long as I crosshatch down to just below that line, then we're good. Right, my camera, old camera, phone type thing just died on me completely. So I've had to get my new phone out. So hopefully from now on, the picture quality will be even more superior. I don't know, I'll find out myself when I come to edit. I managed to get the engine in the position I wanted it to do the B bank bores pointing down. Once I've done these, I'll flip the engine over and do the A bank in the same way. I have done, what's this, B1. If I try and zoom in, there we go. You can now see that we've got rid of any shininess and got a nice even crosshatch all the way in the bore. I think that's what I'm looking for. I could maybe go slightly quicker. Looking at the next one along, you probably can't see on the video, but the crosshatch, the original crosshatch, does look a tiny bit steeper. So I can maybe just go a tiny bit quicker, but I really don't think it matters that much. Also, I have noticed, now that I've cleaned it up, a tiny bit of scoring, but I've checked, you can't even feel that with your fingernail or anything, so I'm going to pretend I didn't see that because I don't think it's an issue. You can just see it there on the camera on the bottom of the cylinder liner there. Nothing to worry about, I don't believe. So I'm going to move on to B2. So the first thing I want to do is rotate the crankshaft again so that the bearing is as far away as possible. I then want to clean the cylinder liner out as best I possible can. Best I possible can? What kind of English was that? As best as I possibly can. Because what I don't want to be doing is grinding any grit or debris in. There you go, you see. See how, I mean, I've actually cleaned these, but they need to be laboratory level clean before doing this. that's why I'm using kitchen roll as well. I need another glove on. Can't do this one-handed, and I can't reach my gloves. I'm going to go through a lot of gloves. Today, I can just tell it's going to be one of those days. A lot of gloves and a lot of kitchen roll. Hopefully this isn't my last roll. I mean, to be fair, the reason we're getting a lot of dirt like that is because I'm going right to the back of the bore, which we don't really need to deglaze, but it all does need to be spotless clean because I don't want to drag any dirt down from up there while we're doing this process. Let's see how dirty it is. There we go. I think I'm going to call that acceptable. We then want to oil up the bore. Just sticking a bit of oil on my glove and giving that a good, I don't want to say the word that starts with F and ends in T, but you know what I'm thinking. We then want to, it's probably got enough oil on anyway, but just to be on the safe side, oil up the tool again. Shake off the excess, and we're good to go. So make sure I'm on the slow speed, and in we go. Okay, and get some more kitchen towel. In fact, I'll just give that a bit of a rinse out first. Get the worst of it out. I'm going to have to refill my brake cleaner dispenser. Oh, should have just enough for this one. Just get rid of any grit that we've just deposited, because what that does is grind a load of abrasive material, obviously, so you do now need to get absolutely every last bit of this out. You'll see here all the material that's been left up in there. We don't want any of that left in. Now, once I've finished all this, I'm going to give this engine block another very, very detailed clean, because I'm then going to be painting the outside before rebuilding everything. So I'm not going to be as bothered as you might want to be about getting these bores completely clean, because what I'm going to do is, once the engine's back the right way up, I can wash these down with brake cleaner. But still, just to prove a point, I'll try and get this as clean as possible right now. So I'm just going to keep going in there with clean white kitchen towel, a bit like before we started, until it comes out completely clean. Right, so that's going to be good enough for me for now. Stick a bit of oil in them afterwards so that, I don't know if they could rust, I don't know, but I think it's probably good practice just to cover your glove again once it's properly super duper clean. In fact, I'm going to do that now, even though I'm going to be cleaning this out again. I'll just turn the light on because it's kind of hard to see the crosshatch without the light. Then with the light, it looks a little bit over the top, a little bit aggressive. But that is what I was looking for. You can see before how they've got a kind of mirror finish to them. Obviously that one's all speckledy because it's got splashback off brake cleaner and things. But that's what we're looking for, I think. I've never done this before. But a nice even crosshatch all the way around. Obviously there's B1 with its oil on. Even with the light on now, you can see the crosshatch. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work my way along, do these other ones, and then flip it up and do the A-bank. Oh, I just finished doing the A bank. They're all looking lovely. I have noticed while I was doing this side, because the light was coming this way from the garage door behind me, I could see a bit better as it was removing any staining right at the top of the cylinder liner, sorry. And you can just see on the B bank further along, I did take it all off, but I'm just going to go back and do these three just a tiny bit longer, just so that it's got rid of any of that crud from the top. There's no lip or anything like that. It's just me being picky, but I want them all to look like that. Right, with all that done, the next job is to mask up, ready for painting the block. I've already painted the sandwich plate. The sump can wait till later because it might get scratched before refitting. I'm going to do that after it's in the car. I'm going to drop that sump off and give that a coat of paint. I've done the front cover. The heads are all ready to go on. So everything else is painted. It's just the actual block I need to get painted now. I'm not entirely sure how successful masking up an oily, albeit clean oil, engine is going to be. However, luckily I have a spare sandwich plate. There's about 8 million different versions of these sump sandwich plates from different years and different oil configurations, and annoyingly this one, despite me thinking I'd got the right one, I got the wrong one. So this is surplus to requirement. I can't use it on my car. All that does matter is that I've got something to cover this with, otherwise I'd have to cover that whole void with masking tape. What was the other thing? Oh yes, also I bought a gasket set a while ago, like a sort of bottom of the engine set, and it was shit. It was all paper gaskets, and I don't want those. That's not even going to line up, is it? Because I've got it the wrong way around. So I went and bought the... Which way around does this gasket go? Will you stop being a dick? I'm going to get this gasket laid on and then come back to you. Right, there we go. That's how it's supposed to be. Obviously, if I was actually rebuilding the engine at this point, I would have put something to help hold that gasket in place. Excuse me. But because I'm going to be painting, I don't want any contaminants at all. I'm just using this gasket as a sacrificial gasket, along with a sacrificial sandwich plate. And then I've got a lot less crap to mask up. Right, let's just get that roughly lined up. What I'm going to do is use the old sump sandwich bolts. I don't care if they get painted, they're going in the bin when I'm finished. Rather handily, I've got a spare old sump, so I can use that as a sacrificial sump, cover this. I've also, as part of that crappy paper gasket set, I also have a... Oh yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? This is a completely different sump. That's not going to work. My issue is Jaguar kept changing sump design across the years, and so it's not going to match up. But it's going to match up everywhere apart from a bit there and a bit there. So I think I'm still... Oh, I can't clamp it down at the front either because, wow, they really are totally different, aren't they? Completely different shaped sump. I'm going to look into that and see. So just to confirm, this is how it was set up ready for painting. Obviously there's a lot more masking tape, but an incorrect sump sandwich plate that I'm going to discard afterwards, and a correct but spare sump, which again I don't need. I didn't bother filming all the painting process. Here's some shots of it after it had been painted. So, as you can see from those previous shots, I finished painting my engine block. Done the cylinder heads, done the gearbox, done all the big painting jobs. Well, apart from the engine bay. That's another headache that I've got to tackle and learn a lot of skills for. But this side of the project, that's a nice point to have got to. This block now is ready for everything to be reinstalled, reassembled, and made back into an engine. Slight problem. Turns out putting oily pistons in freezer bags and labelling them with, albeit permanent marker, doesn't work. The oil has seeped out of the bags over the month or two that they've been sat in storage. And yeah, not good news. Well, that one's legible, as are some of them, but some of them are just completely illegible. I don't know if I can find an example, but yeah, like this one here. Not only is it wiped off the permanent marker, it's actually broken down the white plastic that was on the outside of the freezer bag, which normally works perfectly well for labelling things up. So I'm just waiting on a reply from one of my consultant mechanics. I think I've figured out the order based on ones that did have letters. So I know that's which way round are we? A1 and B1, and they have to go in this sort of formation when it's upside down. So by process of elimination, I have got them pretty much how I imagine they should be, but I can't be sure. There could be 2 or 3, well 4, it'll be an even number, messed up. I then laid them all out on the table, as you can see here. I'm doing this on voiceover because my talking here just got really confusing. Basically, I realised that because they're paired up A and B, and I know which way A and B are orientated because of the arrow on the top of the piston. So laid out like this, the arrows are all pointing in the correct direction, whichever way that is. The pattern on the bottom of the conrod there on the end cap, on the A's, because of the way they're laid out in order here, on the A bank it goes in a sort of sweeping upwards direction, as you can see there. I'm doing that with my finger now. And on the B's, again, because of the way it is, it's a sweeping downwards. So that allowed me just to go along all the pistons and at least confirm that I definitely got the A bank ones and the B bank ones in the right position. And then that just left a little bit of a question over maybe 2 of them, whether they'd got swapped about, but I was happy enough with that. Right, let's just start putting pistons back in. I'm bored of worrying about it right now, to be honest. I've taken off 2 of the clamps that I made to hold down the piston liners. I'm going to do 1A and 1B first. I can do 4 at a time, reaffix the protecting clamps, and then move on to the next 4 and the next 4. So what I'm going to do is just lube up the liner wall, and I'm also going to put some assembly lube actually on the crankshaft. Should have done that before I turned the engine back over, just realised. Might be a bit tricky to do it now. Trying to do it upside down was not working at all, so I've gone for... I've just got assembly lube everywhere, haven't I? Can't turn anything now. Let's just turn it by the... I was going to say flywheel, but it's not called that, is it? On an automatic flex plate. That's it. So I'm going to make sure these have already been cleaned off. They're completely grit and fluff free. I'm just going to give them a decent helping of assembly lube. I think you can use oil, but I'm not going to be starting this engine for a considerable amount of time still, so I want to give it as much chance as it can of having some lube left here on that first start. Might even squirt a bit down those holes as well, just so it oozes out over time. Is that a good idea? Don't know. Making this shit up as they go along. I just had a bit of a look through the big green book of bollocks and then had a bit of a meltdown because I measured my piston ring width, or thickness, sorry, and it was completely out of spec. So I spent about an hour freaking out going, oh god, they've supplied me the wrong rings, and then I remembered this is why I call it the big green book of bollocks, is because it only really refers to the 5.3 litre engines. There is a supplement at the back that I remembered, and it very briefly covers any changes, but it does say that the piston rings on the 6 litre should be around 1.5 for both the rings, which they are. So panic over. But yeah, I just spent about an hour taking the rings off this, measuring them and going, why are they so far out of spec? But anyway, that's that sorted. Clocking rings, again, I have looked at the big green book of bollocks. It gives a rough idea. I don't think I need to get too scientific about this. I'm going a little bit overboard, making sure everything's spotless and exactly how I want it, because that's kind of the nature of this channel. But the general idea is to have them all opposite each other. So I've started off with the first bottom, is this the oil control ring? Can't remember. Doesn't really matter about the names. Bottom one there, then it's opposite. It's the next one up, sorry. On the other side, opposite. Then, whoops, I'm tripping over my shoelace. Then the next one up, here, first piston ring, opposite, and opposite. So basically, front, back, that side, that side. That's what I'm going for. So that one's now ready to be lubed up and installed. Tie my fucking shoelace up first though, before I kill myself. I've lubed up the cam journals. I need to lube the cylinder liner. Make sure that's all lovely. That's beautiful. Need to undo the bottom cap. I was undoing the bottom cap whilst holding the bottom cap there. That would have ended badly. Sometimes my intelligence is not so good. The piston needs to go in with the arrow. Whoop. You can't see that probably, but there's an arrow there pointing that way. So that's the way it goes. I'm just going to place it in. Probably way too much oil. It's probably going to smoke quite a lot when I first start it up. But you know what? I'd rather that than no oil. So now I need to compress those rings in and gently tap it down with, we'll just use the bottom of this hammer just to tap it down until it sits on the journal. Pop the bottom cap on after putting some assembly lube there, and that's that one on. I'm not going to torque them up yet. I'm going to get them all in, then put my protective clamps back on, then turn the engine upside down, and we'll torque them all up there. To compress the rings, I have a tool. There it is. Right, it just takes a 1/4 inch ratchet fixing this one, and it's just a case of winding it up. I actually had to fix this. I borrowed this off handy and it wasn't engaging. It should hold itself like that. It kept popping open, this one, which was a bit of a nightmare. I have now fixed it. To go the other way, you need to obviously lift it up and undo it. So I want it slack to start off with. I also need to have it in a position where I can get a thing on it. I just want to make sure it's clean and not got any grit or anything like that on it that's going to sit on top of the piston. I want to try and keep things absolutely spotless from this point onwards. So I need it open enough that it'll go over the whole shebang. And then I need just to nip it up. So that now should be squeezing the rings in so that hopefully when I tap this down, the piston's going to pop into the piston, into the liner. I also want to go downstairs and make sure I guide that journal on, guide that bottom of the conrod onto the journal. What I don't want is these studs here bashing off the journal because it's going in a weird angle. So there's a bit of faffing going on here, but I'm just going to get my hand down in here if I can. There it is. Right, I can feel the bottom of the studs. They are either side of the journal, and I'm just going to gently tap the piston down. I made a bit of a mistake there. I forgot. I need to make sure that the crankshaft is at its lowest position for the piston that I'm popping in, or at least part way down. When I did it there, I couldn't knock it in, and I wonder what was going on. Of course, it was right up at the top of its stroke, which is fine, but I'd quite like to have a bit of room to push the pistons down. Just reaching in here again. There, I've still got some way to go now. I've just rotated the crank round a bit. There it is. So that's now sat on the journal. And now I just need to put some assembly lube on there. That's B1 done. Let's do A1. Should be a bit quicker this time. Well, I've just popped it in the vise so that it's not wandering about. Let's pull that round to this side. Doesn't need to be exact. What am I saying? It doesn't need to be exact. That's not going to work for me, is it? There, that's better. And then we'll have that one over that side and that one over that side. Pop the piston down the liner, making sure the arrow's pointing that way. Pop on our tool. My gloves off, didn't I? I've just put assembly lube all over the screen of my phone as well. Great. There you go, that's on there. Hopefully it doesn't fall out while I'm faffing about. That'll do for now. Right, finished putting the pistons in. I need to now flip the engine up and torque up the end caps. Just looking at the book. The Titan bearing cap nuts to 40.5 foot-pounds. I've just done a conversion in Google for Newton meters, and apparently it's about 55, so we'll set that. This is just something I like to do. I don't think you need to, but I always just like to get a feel before I go and torque something up on the engine to what it's going to feel like, so that I know kind of how much force, in this case 55 Newton meters, is gonna feel like. That way I know if I'm sort of nearly there. I might just have a normal ratchet just to nip them up first, because they're probably a little bit loose. Okay, now we can nip them up. That's them all torqued up. So I started my search for big end bearings at JLR Classic Parts. I got a Jaguar. I don't want offers or anything, thank you. I just want information. My VIN starts at 189, so I'm always over this side. Engine, connecting rods and pistons. There's your 4 litre, your 5.3 and the 6 litre facelift. So I was hoping when I clicked this I was going to see my EBC number, but I didn't. What I did find out was all this information that I had to go away and research. The later crankshafts were graded at manufacture. They were marked on the front with their tolerance or clearance amounts, whatever, and you had to go and buy the correct bearing shell for that clearance, basically, if that makes sense. Now that's all great, but none of this matches up to what I've got on my car, and also, even if it did, none of these are available anymore. Even if you copy this and paste it into Google, eBay, all the usual sites where I try and find parts, you can't get these anymore. So that was a bit of a dead end. I did have a look on the 5.3 as well to see if maybe mine had some parts just handed down from some facelift stuff, facelift 5.3 stuff, which does happen sometimes. It's a 1993 build, and you do sometimes just get some parts carried across. But no, they're the same ones, not available. I did even look then at the earlier 5.3, so not the facelift, just to see if that's where my EBC number had come from. But what I found there was JS571, which has nothing to do with my EBC number. But what I did find out with those is they're not available on Jaguar's site for some reason. So these are the genuine JS571, apparently fitted to all the 5.3 litre V12s. But if I type in JS571 into Google and accept all their nonsense, you'll see there's lots of them available. What I do then is go to S&G Barrett and just see if they stock them and if I can get any information from them. JS571, and sure enough, they stock all of them. So you can get the genuine Jaguar ones here, JS571. It says special order, so that can mean sometimes that they can't get them from Jaguar anymore. And then you've got aftermarket ones, some more aftermarket ones. I don't know what the difference is between those two. And then you've got your plus 10 thousandths of an inch and plus 20 thousandths. All that makes perfect sense. I'd hit a bit of a dead end here by now because I couldn't find anything that corresponded to my bearings. So looking at this, they looked the same design, apart from having this oil hole, which I don't really know what that's for. But they've got the same tabs and everything. So I did the only thing I could do really, which was to buy a set of genuine ones, which they did have in stock at the time. Got those delivered and measured them.
Right. So I think I've just done a section where I've kind of explained my findings with big end bearings. As I said previously in this video, I apologise for it being all over the place, but I've been all over the place. These are the original bearings that I've taken off with the part number of, well, it says standard there, and EBC 10891, I think. Yes, 10891, which I couldn't find, but I've found JS571 to be exactly the same. So they're the same diameter. I've measured it across there, and I've also measured the thickness of them, and they're exactly the same. I'm now going to replace all of my original ones with these brand new JS571. So let's do that now. It's a little bit more tricky now because I've put the pistons in. I've done these two here, so I'm just going to film doing the next two along. And then hopefully I can finally draw a line under this part of proceedings. So obviously I've torqued these up, so they'll just need nipping off again. Let's pop this end cap off. Helps if you grab the one that you've actually undone, doesn't it? So the end cap's simple. He says the bearing's been left inside. I was looking for it there then. So just pop the bearing out. I'm just going to use my magnet, which has fallen on the floor, and just take that out. Then just going to make sure that this surface is completely clean. It should be, because I did all this before. Get myself a new bearing. Is that a new one as well? Yeah, I've got 2 out. So yeah, get a new bearing, line up the locator clip, pop that in, make sure it's sat nice and flush, stick some assembly lube on it like we did before. That's now ready to go back on. So I'll just leave that to one side. We then just need to knock the piston down very slightly and then spin the other bearing out. Right, I think I've nudged that down enough, and then I can get my finger in here and hopefully pull it round the crankshaft. There we go. And then I can use my magnet, just because it's easier just to pull it off. So that's that one. We then want a nice new bearing, bit of assembly lube again. Now I want to make sure that we put this on the right way round, so the locating clip needs to be like that. That needs to go like that. There we go. Don't want to mess that up. I'm going to hopefully spin it round and it's going to stay on the crankshaft. No, it's going to fall off. So you can just see, if I just zoom in, just see there, it's not quite sat right. So I just need to nudge it into place, make sure it's, oops, not filming there. There you go. Make sure that locator slot is lined up. And again, we flush it the other side. Just going to knock that piston right up now. There we go. You can hear the change in noise. So now we should have flush there, and it's in its, I'm just going to zoom in again just to double check. Then it's sat in its location bit there and it's flush there. So I'm happy with that. Grab my end cap that we prepped earlier. Obviously need to make sure this goes the right way around. I mean, you can't put it the wrong way around anyway. It physically won't fit because it'll foul on here. But just so you know, you're just looking for that locating thing to be on the same side as that, and then that should slot in. 2 nuts. And I'm going to go along and torque all these up again later. So I'm just going to nip that up for now. So that's just nipped. So I'm going to do that on the rest of them. I'm on my last one, so I'm just going to pause Derek and just film this one. I've got a little bit quicker as I've gone along. You'll be pleased to hear. I've been checking them all, by the way, just to make sure they're all the same standard. That one is. standard. I'd be very surprised if I found an unmatched pair on a thing. That shouldn't be right, so I don't know why I checked that one, but I guess it's just habit now. I've been doing this for so long. Whoops, put way too much assembly lube on that one. Okay, let's get the torque wrench out. I just need to check the torque spec again. I think it was 55 Newton meters, but can't remember off the top of my head. I was right, it was 55 or 40 to 41 foot-pounds. I am going to call it a day there. The reason being is I've never done any of this before, as you may have gathered, and I would like one of my consultant mechanics to come and cast their eye over it, turn the crank, have a listen to how the pistons sound, explain what I've done, what I haven't done, and hopefully they'll say, that's fine, stop panicking, just chill, put the heads on, rebuild the engine, you'll be fine. Next video, though, will actually be the veneers part 2, which I'm very excited about. They're actually hiding under that sheet there. They're all done, apart from one extra piece that I've asked JDK to do for me as like a custom one-off, which I'm very excited about. That piece is to do with the remote control glove box minibar nonsense that I created many years ago, which I am rejuvenating as part of the veneering job. I really shouldn't be getting distracted with other projects when clearly I've got a lot to do here, but that's just how I work. So next video will be veneering part 2, I promise. Hopefully that'll be in the next 2 or 3 weeks, because I want to get that project wrapped up, the veneering, then focus all my time and attention on getting this engine rebuilt, hopefully before Christmas. That's my plan, to have the engine, might not be completely done with all the fuel rails and all that, but the actual basic body of the engine, all the timing done, all together with the heads on a stand, with the gearbox maybe, by Christmas. That's what I'm aiming for, so wish me luck. I'm easily distracted. See you then.